Okay, we're on to the last day, day 6. It's the final day in New York, so it's the final part in the series, except for the haul, which is going to be part 7 coming out next week. Click the thing in the icon. So, this day, we didn't really do anything because our flight took off at like 4, so we had to like basically leave as soon as we started doing anything. But we did end up going to the Museum of Modern Art. And at this point in the trip, I really wasn't feeling it because I just knew it was going to be another Met situation where we would not have enough time in the museum because they were like, okay, we have to be back at like this place for the bus in about 2 hours. So should we spend like an hour here and then an hour going to get food? And everybody was just like, just let us spend as much time as we want here and then we'll go meet you there when we're done. Because we were really just done at this point. Because like having to like keep us on this tight schedule was really stupid, especially when you're in a museum. There's never enough time to spend in a museum. It's crazy. But I was sort of like done with everybody at this point because it was the last day and I was like, I'm not doing this no more. So once we were there, I already knew what I wanted to get done in New York before we left. Mostly Radio City Music Hall because we went there on like day 2 or 3 and I was promised that we would go to the gift shop and we did not go to the gift shop. So I was like, I'm going to the fucking gift shop. Once me and my friends had walked into the museum together, again, my friends are trying to keep us all together to like follow the rules or whatever, and I was just really not having that this day. So I had left them in like about 5 minutes after we had started going through the museum. And then I look around at some things. There was this really cool exhibit about like utopian cities. They're really well designed. And then I did some VR thing and then I left because I was not really having being there. And then I went to the gift shop and I bought some things there, which will be in the hall. And then I just sort of walked around because I was like, I have about 30 minutes before I have to get to the bus. So I just walked in the general direction that I knew it was going to be. I knew it was like in like a diagonal direction, so if I kept walking like this way I would get somewhere. So I basically just walked around. I found this nice bubble tea place. It was like a Chinese drink place that like focused on bubble tea but had other drinks. I got some tea there, and then about like 2 minutes before we all had to meet up at the bus, I am at the place where we're all supposed to meet up, and look, surprise, surprise, I'm the only one there. So I decided to like take a walk around the block, and then about 5 minutes later when I get back there, then people have arrived. And apparently we have moved the place where we are going to meet the bus for some reason. Then I see the chaperone and she's like, oh, the bus is over here. And I'm like, cool, fun. Because our flight was at like 4:15, so we had to like leave around like 2 or something like that, and we had to change buses because like the main bus still needed to drive around like the kids from the other school, so we had to switch buses, except the second bus that we needed to get on to take us to the airport was not there yet for like another 15 minutes. So I see that there is a wonderful pizza shop called the Neapolitan Express. I'm putting it on the screen right now. It was right next to where we were going to meet our buses, and I was like, I'm hungry, I'm gonna get myself some food. And I consistently forget that New York's thing is like pizza, because my goodness, this pizza was so good. It's the best pizza I've ever had in my entire life. Like, it was so deliciously made, and it was like piping hot. And I don't usually like hot food, but it was so delicious. It was the best meal. It was so good. Like, I don't even know how to describe it. I had a margarita pizza. It's not a pizza I have often, but it was so good. I don't really know how to, I can't explain it, but it was a delicious meal. So if you are anywhere around there and you can get there, go get their pizza. But about 10 to 15 minutes later than the bus was supposed to arrive, it finally shows up and we grab all of our items. I have a lot. A thing I should have mentioned is that the night before, I had a lot of leftover food in the fridge, mainly my gazpacho from like 2 to 3 days ago. So I thought it was gonna be fine because I wanted to just finish the food that I had bought. So I take out my gazpacho, I eat a bunch of gazpacho. Apparently the gazpacho and I did not agree because I threw up the gazpacho. So that kind of ruined my night, and I was supposed to pack all my stuff that night. And I did not end up doing that because I was dead. I fell asleep and I was done. So I had to pack all of my stuff that morning. So all my stuff wasn't like expertly packed, but it was all fitting into my luggage like I said I would. I packed all my stuff in that morning and I wasn't late. So really, I was doing great. But I did have a lot of things. I had like I had the backpack that I was carrying around, and I had my full luggage, and then I had a poster outside of it because the poster didn't fit in my luggage because it's so big. It will be in the haul. But getting all of those things onto a new bus along with my drink and my pizza was not the easiest task, but I did it, and we ended up back at the airport. Now, this is where things just sort of go. No, I was not in the best mood because I was very much done being around these people and I wanted to go home so bad. Well, I didn't want to go home. I wanted to be away from these people. So, like, these last few hours are sort of just, like, not fun hours. And the way I'm going to describe them are going to kind of sound awful. I'm going to kind of sound like a bitch. But I was a bitch at this time. And I'm not regretting it. Like, these people were kind of awful. But we get to the airport and we're at, like, the check-in area. And apparently this is the wrong check-in area. This is the check-in area for regular, like, singular travelers. But since we are a big group, we have to go to the group check-in. And we did not know that until about 30 minutes after trying to check in at the regular check-in and the machine not letting us. So we finally figure out, after 30 minutes of just sort of waiting and standing, that we have to move all of our stuff to a completely different section of the airport in order to check in. And we then stand there while our teacher figures out how to sign in and how to do all the ticket things because she doesn't know anything. I spend this time rearranging all the things in my luggage so that as many things as possible could fit into my suitcase that I'm going to check onto the flight. I bought a puzzle at some point along this trip, and I was like moving things around and taking it in and out of my bag. And one of my friends in our group of 6, who doesn't really talk that much, saw that I had a puzzle. And she was like, "You like puzzles?" And I was like, "Yes, I do. I love puzzles." Because I love puzzles. And then we had like a small conversation about puzzles, and that was great because she never really talks to anyone. So when like talking to me, what a wonderful moment. But we get all of our things checked in. We all walk through security, and some people have to be extra searched for some reason. I don't know what was happening. But as I'm standing on the other side of security, I already know where we have to go because I have seen my ticket and I'm not an idiot. So I've already determined which direction we have to go. So once everybody's through security, our teacher finally looks around and she's like, "Okay, which direction do I go?" And I'm already pointing and walking away because I'm done with these people being stupid and slow. Like, you're the teacher. You should be able to do this better than a youngin'. I'm a youngin'. You're a teacher. Like, you should know what you're doing. But she really didn't at any point. So I'm just like, that way. I'm walking away already because I know where we're going. We get to the gate that we have to like board our plane at. We're about like 30 minutes out from when we have to board because our like not checking in fast enough and the bus being late made us like later than we should have been. But it's fine because I sit at one of these like table things that they have because at the Newark airport, which is the airport that we were departing from, they have like seating area and like food service everywhere. It's really cool. It's like there will be a bunch of tables with a bunch of like tablets on them and you can like tap them to like order food and like they will bring your food to you. It was amazing. So I order like something simple like some fries and like an iced tea because I was hungry and I'm going to eat. If I can pay for it, I'm going to eat. So I buy some food. I don't remember exactly what they said, but I remember the teacher and the chaperone making another comment about me being able to eat so much and so fast. And I'm like, I don't care what you have to say. Regardless, that was a good meal. It wasn't necessarily a meal, it's more like a snack, but it was good. I was happy with that purchase. But the plane finally starts boarding. We get into our seats. And because like our tickets are arranged in like alphabetical order, so we're basically sitting by the same people we were on the flight to New York. And I was fine with my seats before because I was sitting in between two of my friends. And like I've never sat in the middle seat because whenever I like am flying, I'm usually with my mother. My mother will always take the middle seat because she is a trooper. So even though I never like experienced the middle seat, I was fine sitting there because I was sitting with people that were fine to sit by. But because one of my other friends that I am like closer with than most of the people on this trip, she was sitting by the window, and like the chaperone and the teacher, they had to have like an aisle seat for some reason. The teacher was supposed to sit in the aisle seat next to my friend. And because my friend had already traveled to New York sitting next to the teacher, she did not want to do that again. So she was like, "Sam, please switch middle seats so that you can sit next to me so that I don't have to talk to her for the whole flight again." And I'm like, okay, that's fine. we're cool, we're friends, that's chill with me. But something happened so that one of my friends where I was originally sitting moved his seat from the aisle seat to the middle seat where I would have been sitting. And our teacher ended up sitting there. And the chaperone ended up sitting in the aisle seat next to me, which was not an enjoyable experience at all. Like when she sat down, I glared at my friend so hard, and she was like, she felt so bad because she knew how much I hated her. Like I had to sit next to her for 6 hours. 6 fucking hours. It was literal hell. It was literal hell. Like I wanted to scream. It was awful. And to add insult to injury, our flight was like an hour longer than it was supposed to be because there was a lot of turbulence going over Nebraska. So like our flight was supposed to land like an hour before it actually landed. So I'm sitting there and I'm trying to just like, you know, watch some Netflix. My friend keeps talking to me. I'm fine with her talking to me, even though she talks a lot, because at least she talks about interesting things. But you know, at the 6-day mark, I was done with anyone talking to me. After 6 hours of that actual personal hell of being just squished in the middle seat, no leg room, we finally board the flight. And we go to the bag check area where we have to get our bags at, because I checked in my suitcase. Because our flight was so delayed, our luggage did not come out for another 30 minutes after we had already gotten there, because there was already like a sequence of planes who had already like put their stuff to be like sent out at that like turnstile, I don't know what it's called. So we had to just like stand and wait and stand and wait and stand and wait. And people kept trying to talk to me. They're like, oh my god, Sam, are you happy to be home? And I'm like, happy to be away from you people. My mother finally got there. I finally got my luggage and I was finally able to leave, and I was so happy. And there were so many people like because the way that it was like situated is that there was like this giant like turnstile thing area where the bags were coming out, and my mother was over here where the exit and the walkway was, and I was back here because that's where like the bags were coming out. So I was over here and I had to walk by all the other people from our tour in order to leave with my mother. As I was leaving, all the other people were like, bye Sam, I'm gonna miss you. And literally like my teacher was like, it was so nice having you on this trip, Sam. And I was like, goodbye. Like literally I was so short with them because I was so done. I wanted to leave so bad because like my ears were in so much pain from the flight. My body was like aching from being like squished in that seat for like 6 hours and then having to wait there for my bag. It was like actual hell. I was so done with these people at this point. So I just left. And then I went home and I slept and life was great. And that is the end of day 6. That is the end of my New York trip. I hope I showed an even balance of the good and the bad. If it seemed like I was complaining a lot, do not get it twisted. I was not ungrateful for my opportunity to go to New York. It will be something I cherish with me forever. I love New York so much because of this trip. Like, it was such a wonderful experience. I wouldn't have traded it for anything. It was a wonderful time, but there were a lot of things that got on my nerves, and I'm not gonna lie and say that they didn't. So even though like people kept trying to restrict me and getting on my nerves, there were adults that were incompetent like all the time, and there were a lot of promises made that were not kept. That is fine, because I got to go see Hello Dolly on Broadway. I got to go to NBC Studios, and I got to just be in New York. And New York is just absolutely beautiful. New York is absolutely beautiful. Like my ultimate like goal, like my 5-year plan is to be able to go to a university in New York, or just to go back there for literally any reason. New York is so great. If you've watched through all 6 of these parts, you're a trooper. You're great. The haul will be out maybe next week. I don't know. The haul will be out soon, because I have realized that all the souvenirs that I put into my luggage, I will now need to actually clean, because I'm going on another vacation in like 3 weeks, so I'm going to need my suitcase. So the haul will at least be filmed soon, and because I'm going on vacation, I'm going to have to like plan some videos in advance. So yes, the haul will be out. New York was fun. I got to live my Glee adventure because I love Glee. New York is wonderful. I love New York.